Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hi, it's Patrick O'Driscoll here. You might know me as Pods. I'd like to welcome you to the Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farmcast. It's the podcast we produce for the love of farming right throughout the Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu region. And now I'll hand over to Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farm Services' very own Belle Baker. Over to you, Belle.
Welcome to the Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farmcast, the monthly podcast where we let you know what we've been up to on the farm and for our clients and what makes sense for you to be doing on your farm or lifestyle property this month. However, this month it's all about our Tractoring for Women event and our 2 farm fencing demo days on the 12th and 13th of May. Now, I snagged the title Tractoring from the hilarious television series Clarkson's Farm. Have you seen it? It's just fabulous. In episode 1, Jeremy Clarkson coined the term tractoring and it just stuck with me. If you haven't seen Clarkson's Farm, you're missing an absolute treat. Love him or hate him, he's done a wonderful job highlighting farming practices in the UK and the red tape and archaic laws that farmers have to deal with to get their products to market. There is so much that is so relevant to the Australian market. It might be based in the UK, but you know, Pods and I would sit there on the couch wetting ourselves laughing and just this stuff that is just incredulous. It's amazing.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Clarkson. I'm actually doing farming. Hi, I'm Jeremy Clarkson. Jeremy knows best. Hi, I'm Jeremy Clarkson. This thing is enormous. Come on, let's farm. Jeremy knows best. Instead of using a machine to mow it, why not use sheep? No, they all look exactly the same. Leaning on the gate, looking at my new sheep, This is what farmers do. Looking at my sheep, Hello, sheep.
Look, there are 3 seasons and they can be viewed on Amazon Prime. Can't recommend it enough. Get into it, but that is where, in case you're wondering where I got the term tractoring from. So, look, if you're a little bit like Jeremy Clarkson, just a little bit, and you've truly no idea what to do, this is the workshop for you. We're going to take you through everything you need to drive your tractor safely and nothing you don't. We'll have at least 4 different types or brands of tractors on site, and with careful planning, we'll match you up with a tractor that's similar to the one you have at home. Initially, David Evans will take you through the basics of where everything is on a tractor, then the pre-start checks and what you need to know before driving. David will work with our guest, Alex Thomas, the dynamo behind Plant a Seed for Safety and hashtag Save a Life, Listen to Your Wife. And together they will highlight the risks and how to prevent machinery accidents on farm. Don't worry, it's not dry, it's actually going to be great fun. After lunch, it's time to get in a tractor for a test drive. You'll be in the hands of the dealership reps. No one will know their tractors better than them, and you'll learn how to start, stop and drive and to operate the front end loader. You can have a go at moving hay bales with the fork and you'll learn how to swap between forks and bucket. We'll also have a slasher on site so you can learn how to attach 3-point linkage implements. It's going to be a wonderful day. We're so grateful for the support of our guest speaker, Alex Thomas, and the dealerships that are supplying the tractors, Emmett's Oakbank, Ramsey Brothers, G&J East and ND and JA Giles. Friday the 12th of May is our farm fencing demo day, specifically for farm fencing contractors. The Saturday 13th of May is for the general public and anyone who wants to learn the fencing basics. We're so fortunate to have Tim Thompson, the poster boy for Australian fencing and YouTube sensation with over 50,000 followers. He's going to be here for the 2 days, and instead of me telling you all about these 2 events, I'm going to let you hear it straight from Tim. Hi there, Tim.
Hi, Belle. How are you? Thank you for inviting me on your Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farmcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We're really looking forward to having you down here in South Australia for these farm fencing demo days. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. But before we sort of get into the nitty-gritty of that, Tim, you are an ag educator. Some call you the poster boy for fencing. Tell us what you do. Tell us what you do and why you do it, Tim.
I have a love of good ideas and people that are passionate about what they do, and I get to spend my time with some truly amazing people and learn a lot. And I think just about every time I do a video, I learn something myself, and it enriches my life a little bit more. And spending time with people like yourself and other entrepreneurs in the ag space really gives you a positive mindset towards the rest of your life. And I'm hoping to pass that on to other people, as well as give people who are new to the land a sense of the possibility. There's a possibility that, yes, they can do these things. Jobs seem complicated until you know how. But when someone gives you a kickstart, it's all that more easier.
Yeah. And so you have been a teacher for over 20 years and you've just recently gone to be doing this full time. But what you do is a lot of YouTube content and you've got over 50,000 followers. Now, that is significant. That's a big effort.
Yeah, it's significant for Australia. If I was an American, I'd probably have 250,000.
Don't move.
But the Australian population is obviously smaller, and it's more of a unique niche in Australia. But I think it's really good to have an Australian voice on the global scene. And I've got subscribers from over 60 countries worldwide. I do have a lot of great American subscribers as well. And what I managed to do is I managed to put our contractors, our professionals, our inventors out there to the world. And there's been, some great opportunities for Australian people that have come out of being on the channel, which is fantastic.
Yes.
We've had regional manufacturers now exporting to 60 countries worldwide, whereas they hadn't exported before they were on the channel. Yeah,
that's remarkable. And so in your YouTube videos, you don't just cover farm fencing, which we're focusing on today. You cover a wide variety of I was about to say issues, but what are, activities or skills?
Yeah, I leave, I suppose, the classic interpretation of the word issues, which is focusing on problems and lamenting trouble. I leave that to the commercial TV people because they do that so well. What I try and focus on is positivity and optimism and great ideas. So, yeah, I chase great ideas, I chase optimistic people, and I chase entrepreneurial people to highlight what they're doing and try and help support them through my platform.
Yeah. So you often will do things like stress test or try out a new invention. And
it's fun to break things, Belle.
I know you love breaking things safely, of course. We have to say safely.
Yes, we have to say that. We're mandated to.
And especially if Alex Thomas is listening, we must.
That's right. Yeah. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Yeah. But what I was going to say, there are. I've seen some of your videos, and you compare one product with another, and look at what the benefits of each and in which scenario it works out in. And that for, we work in agriculture all the time, and having the opportunity to see someone else using those things when we don't generally get an opportunity, we use the same thing every day. That is a wonderful learning opportunity for people like us.
I was with actually a really, really good contractor over here in Victoria. There's good contractors in every state, and you can just tell them a mile off. But I was working with a really, really good guy yesterday.
That Walter Fencing?
Sorry?
That Walter's Fencing?
No, he's in Victoria, this fellow. For the sake of his humility, I will not mention his name.
Oh, we love promoting people.
But he's in an upcoming video. He's in the video this afternoon, so you can figure it out for yourself.
Okay.
But I was with him yesterday, and I was showing him a new way of doing end assemblies that's very common up in New South Wales and Northern Victoria, but not used much here in the Yarra Valley because different regions have different traditions that lock people into one way of thinking. And he was like, "Man, I've set that whole end assembly up before I would have driven the second post." And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But it's just a case of exposing you to new ideas, and sometimes they work for your situation and sometimes they don't. Mm-hmm. So I have to be, really clear about this. if a contractor in a district recommends a certain type of fence,
Yes.
people should take a lot of note of what a good contractor says, because they will obviously, hopefully, have tried and proven that system of fencing for that area, for that soil type, for those weather conditions, for the type of stock they're running, for the size of the paddocks. That changes everything about a fence. So you can't go in and arrogantly say, well, you're doing it wrong, you should be fencing this way. There are obvious mistakes that newbies make, but with established contractors, there's generally a very good reason for why they do the things they do. And so exposing really good contractors to new ideas is a very gentle process, because they've got good reason to be doing what they're doing. And so they will defend that, and rightly so. But there's always room also for innovation. And the innovation in Australian agriculture has always been a really strong thing.
Yes.
And innovation in fencing in the last 10 or 20 years particularly, I mean, it's always been there. It's always been solid. You talk to people like John Pickard, who
who we spoke to last
history
time.
of fencing.
Yeah.
And innovation, there were, I think, 60 different types of steel posts before we landed upon the most common type of steel post that was patented, way back when, in the 20s or something. But I think contractors are generally open to new ideas if they can prove that it'll work, it'll make the job quicker and easier, and it'll make the customer happy.
That's right.
And I think if you can tick those three things, then contractors are generally fairly open.
Yeah. No, that's right. And I guess the other part of that is, encouraging the clients, the customers, to change their way of thinking. That's and that's up to us. And that can be a very long process that, takes, a long time to implement. So,
I think there are some regions in Australia where there are one or two established contractors who've decided what type of fence suits that region. And if people ring that contractor up and they say, I want this type of fence, they'll just say to them, no, you can't have it. This is how we fence here.
Yeah.
And a lot of contractors are not in that position where they can dictate the terms. If you have an electrician come to your house, you don't question them about what type of wire they're using to put the lights in, because they're a professional and they know what will work. I think we have to educate contractors and farmers better in how to have that conversation about what will work in that region and why.
Yeah. And, that does lead me to another question for you, Tim, the professionalism of our industry, being farm fencing. There is no recognised prerequisite, no recognised training, apprenticeships. We don't need to have a builder's licence. So for some contractors, it's really hard to acknowledge that they are professionals or experts in their field, and then for the customers to recognise that. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that one. Yeah.
I think part of the reason why we have such an enormous amount of innovation in the industry, and we have such enormous richness and variety in the industry, is because there's no regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So people are free to try new ideas and are free to test the boundaries and innovate and make things better. I think if you look at countries that have very established associations where they say, this is a fence, this is how you fence,
yes,
there's a lot less innovation. However, I think there could be a way of addressing professional training and an industry association while leaving the door open for innovation and variety, because I think particularly in Australia, we have so many different types of terrain, so many different topographies, so many different types of soils, weather, climate conditions, farming types. I mean, we go from desert to rainforest to dry sclerophyll. I mean, we have it all. So it would be very dangerous to establish a contractors association that dictated the terms on fencing, but it would be very helpful to establish a contractors association that supported innovation and that supported training.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I see your role being so important, because I know particularly when we started out, or when we were doing using new materials that we hadn't used before, there were times we would turn to your YouTube channel, which I'm quite happy to admit, we're never going to say we know everything. We're always willing to learn. And there were
none of us do, Bill.
No, and so we would turn to your channel and go, right, well, how would Tim do this? Or what are my options? How else can I look at this problem? And I think the moment we stop asking questions and presuming we know, that's when the industry really does fall down. But that's where I see what you're doing at such a valuable role. And that's why we're so grateful you've making the time to come down here and spend a few days with us. And
I think the great thing about what I'm doing is I'm not a fencing contractor, never have been. I worked for one for a little while back in the day because I spent about a decade in the wine industry and in viticulture and all that sort of thing. And I run a sheep stud as part of my role teaching. And I've had a few bits and pieces. I grew up around horse racing. So I do come from a background of the land, but I don't pretend to be a fencing contractor. What I am is I'm a person that takes knowledge and promotes it to others when that knowledge has merit.
Yeah.
And it extends to when I do reviews. If I review a new product, my aim is not to say, these are the best set of strainers in the world. My aim is to say, these are really good and this is why, and I think this is where they fit. And that allows me to, look at all types of strainers and not, just be a champion for one kind.
Yeah. No, that's good. So there's farm fencing demo days we've got coming up. There's one on Friday, the 12th of May, and the second one on Saturday, the 13th of May. The first one is specifically for farm fencing contractors, and we've got a really good response to that so far. A lot of, we've had some wonderful response. Not everybody's registering online, but, they've got another few weeks.
Well, they're going to miss out on a snag, aren't they, Bill?
Well, they are.
Because I must say, and I must push back, I think old-fashioned manners are important. If you are going to arrive at someone's house, you should at least let them know prior.
Oh, yes. I love that. That is fantastic. And look, the view behind me, that's what you'll be missing out on if you don't come along. And
a snag.
And a snag. And you know what? We are doing knock-off drinks for the contractors. And that's where the gold happens, I reckon. So is this the first type of event, fencing event that you've been invited to or come along to? Is this a new concept, or is this something you've been doing for a while?
I've not been to an event of this nature in the past. So I've run events. I've run ag shows. I ran the Young Farmers Challenge at the Royal Melbourne. I've done a few other things. But I haven't been to an event like yours before. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the possibilities are, because I think you've done such a power of work here. Yeah. And you've put so much into this that you're an absolute credit to your region and to your industry. And hopefully the day goes really well and people come with an open mindset, ready to play with some new kit.
Yes.
And see where the application is or is not for them, their practices and their region. Yeah. So on the Friday, I'm not coming to tell contractors what to do. I'm coming to learn.
Yeah, right.
But I'm also coming to put some great gear in front of them and let them play with it.
Wow. So the idea with the Contractors Day is really that those sandpit sessions, you're going to bring out a heap of tools.
Yep. Sorry. Toys. Yeah, toys.
And you're also going to break stuff.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So and that's with a test bench. So
I did a video a couple of years back actually, and I borrowed a test bench from a manufacturer, and we lined up a whole heap of fencing knots, and then we just broke them and saw what line strain they broke at, and ranked them, and did a little bit of work with that. Now there'll be some contractors who reckon they've got some interesting knots, I reckon, who might want to try them out for themselves.
Yes.
So I'm going to make that test bench available to contractors on the Friday.
Right.
We might do a demonstration or two on the Saturday, but it won't be available to the general public, obviously, because we don't want missing fingers.
No. But you'll test gripples and crimps as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make all of those things available, and the contractors can mount them as they see fit. They can test, There's a lot of debate around, even in the end knot, whether the lazy loop makes any difference. My personal opinion is no, because in my experience, it doesn't break where the lazy loop is anyway. That's one of my questions for the contractors. Does the lazy loop make any difference? Do you want to use my test bench and find out?
Yeah. And so we're going to have White's Rural here. We've got some great supporters of my channel that are coming along.
So they manufacture a lot of their stuff up in Albury, in New South Wales. They're a major employer up there. They're an Australian family-owned company.
Yep.
The Kelly family are Australian-based, and they're pumping out a lot of really innovative new products into the Australian fencing industry.
Some of those
people might not have seen them all.
Yeah. No, excellent. And we've got Gallagher coming along, talking electric fences.
Yeah, no, they're another supporter of the channel, and obviously they basically rule electric fencing, and they have a lot of really good information about some of the common problems and misconceptions that there are behind electric fences, but also how to optimise them and use them in new and interesting ways to manage the Australian environment. So Gallagher are right out in front of the curve in electric fencing. So it's good to have them there. And I won't steal their thunder. They've got a very well experienced territory manager coming along to run Q&A sessions for both contractors and the punters on the Saturday.
Yep. And he's going to have some bits and pieces with him, so you can touch and feel and play. So, and there might be some things there that people haven't seen before.
Hopefully they'll be turned off as well before people touch them.
No, we've talked extensively about that. That'll be fine. He was also saying that he's going to go through with contractors, and the punters on the Saturday, the common problems that people experience and how to fix them. So that the simple stuff, so you don't need to go back to your reseller or call fencing contractors to come and do a fix. That there are the diagnostic and then the fixed things that will just help people out to get past that first stage.
That's right. And that's one of the crucial things too, is if contractors are building fences that their clients understand and that their clients can fix, their clients will be happier and the contractors won't have those annoying call-outs. So I think the education side of it, both on the Friday and Saturday, with the new products that are so much more adaptable and approachable, but also the technical information, particularly around electrical fencing, to make sure that everyone understands how to use the product. Because I think a lot of people don't even read the back of the box when they buy an electric fence, and they should be, and they should be trying to understand what that back of the box means.
Yeah. Great. So now I've just completely lost my next question, Tim.
All good.
So on the Saturday, we're actually going to give an opportunity for everybody to actually tie a knot.
Yes.
And so how are we going to go through that? I mean, there'll be two main sessions at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m.
Yep.
And we encourage people to sort of get there at before 10 and
you get there about 10:15 and 1:45.
Yep. And we do have the Lions Club doing a barbie, so there will be, and of course, as you know, I'm going to have.
But if people haven't registered, I'm going to stop them getting a snag off that barbecue.
Yes,
they have to be polite and they have to register.
That's exactly right. So we're going to have them all trying to tie knots, and we're going to use tie wire.
We are. Now, the reason why I'm doing that on the Saturday is, number one, safety, and number two, if 20 or 30 people want to learn how to tie a knot, it's going to take up a lot of room, because if you were using high tensile wire and a set of strainers, number one, you'd have to have 30 sets of strainers. You'd have to have 60 posts in the ground so that you could have a line. So we're going to use a method that I've used successfully both when I was teaching in the tertiary sector. I used to teach TAFE. I used to teach in trade area. But then also when I went across to secondary education, I used to teach 15-year-olds how to build a fence. And I've got a great story about that.
Good.
But what I did was I used tie wire because it's soft and it bends easily. It forgives mistakes, and people can just put it over the top of the post, tie their knot, slip it off the post, and actually stick it onto a plywood board or something, put it up in their shed. And then every time they want to learn how to tie the knot, they can go and have a look at the board, have a look at the knot, still be really puzzled about it, then look up my video online, get it on their phone, take it out in the paddock, and then watch my video about 4 or 5 times, leaving a thumbs up.
We encourage that.
Subscribing.
No, I think that's wonderful, because not only are they getting that practical experience on site, but they get to take it away. And I think that's wonderful. And the other important thing about this Saturday is that everyone who registers online goes into the draw to win a $1,000 accommodation package that will cover the entire world. Now, that's courtesy of our beautiful friends that talked about marketing. That is a massive prize. So,
it is.
So back to what you're saying about it being polite. If you're coming to someone's place, let them know. It's not just about that. You don't want to miss out on that prize.
And a snag.
And a snag. Now, we're also going to have the guys from Tanner Post there. Now, that is the new, more safe water-based creosote, and we're looking forward to being able to see their products. We think that's a great alternative to the traditional creosote, which, we're absolutely encouraging our customers to move away from. Have you had any experience with the Tanner Post, Tim?
No, look, I've had a fair bit of experience with copper in between managing farms and then going off and spending 20 years trying to teach. I actually worked in a research lab for a while, and I used my agricultural connections to research chemicals. And so my hatred and aversion to copper started then. And I'll provide a link to you. The research got published, and it's been used quite extensively in industry and occupational health and safety. So I'll supply the link to that research. But I found that there were very clear connections between exposure to products treated with copper and bodily copper content, which leads to both acute and morbid diseases in the human body. Which should be avoided. So if someone's coming out with an alternative to CCA, and why would anyone use creosote anymore? We know the links to cancer with that. Then I would be very keen to have a look at it.
Yeah. And I guess for those traditionalists that still like a wooden product over a steel product, it could be an option. From what I can see, the main difference is it's actually a lighter colour, which makes sense because it is a water-based rather than the dark creosote, but you can always paint them.
You can still go out and put your black horse paint on them.
Yeah. So, I think it's a wonderful option. And I know we've put you in touch with the guys from Dart Drones. Now, they're the guys that have these big agricultural drones that they do spraying and spreading. We are so looking forward to seeing a demo. Fingers crossed the weather and the wind is good. But you're going to
hopefully I can do a video on that too. It's something that really excites me.
Yes.
A lot of people have talked about the use of drones in ag, but I think it's only really just starting to get going. And these guys are out at the forefront of it, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And see, we, we're spray contractors. We do boom spray and handheld spraying, spot spraying. But there are, particularly in the Adelaide Hills and the Fleurieu, there are lots of areas that we can't get to, we don't have access to. So these guys can come in and spray those difficult to, get areas on difficult terrain. But they're also, it's actually a really cost-effective solution for seeding small acreage, because there are so few contractors that will spend the time going to sow 4, 5, 10 acres when they've got bigger clients going on. I mean, we don't do seeding, but we work with a lot of seeding contractors. And so I see these guys as having a real role to help those smaller acreage farmers with both their seeding and the fertilising as well.
And also environmentally sensitive areas. I mean, we're doing so much work now with waterways and things like that. We're trying to prevent erosion. We're trying to filter water. We're trying to do the right thing. And that's the great story about Australian farming, is that so many Australian farmers are just such good custodians of the land.
Yes.
We need to promote that more as a country, and that's certainly what I'm trying to do on my channel, is promote those great stories about people who are farming traditionally but doing amazing things for their properties at the same time.
Yeah. No, I think one of the things that they're going to talk about as well is the prescription spraying or prescription seeding, where they can, once they map it,
Yes.
They work out the rate that needs to go down in those areas.
Yep,
So
precision ag.
Yeah, love it.
Yep.
I just think, rather than blanket spraying something, and it doesn't need it, I just think there's such a role to be played. And I'm thrilled that they're coming along.
The role of precision ag is going to get better when we start to work out the algorithms that can ground truth the images that we get, and that's at this point of time, that's the missing piece, and it's being worked on extensively by researchers I know from UNSW and Melbourne Uni, and I'm sure that there's probably people down in Adelaide as well working on that space. The maths behind precision ag is incredible.
Yeah.
It's linked very closely to climate science.
Yes.
Because they use similar algorithms in the underneath guts of it.
Right.
And the hope is that soon there will be a way of converting all images to a standardized format so that the image from one property can be compared to an image from another property, because at the moment that doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's
so
no benchmarking, is there? There's only benchmarking on your own property, not against. Yeah,
that's right. And so if you're into precision ag and you're doing it for 4 or 5 years, you get a very good understanding of what an image from a certain number of meters height with a certain type of cloud cover actually represents in terms of plant performance. But if you just go in and take a photo on a day on a different property with a different cloud cover, you've got no idea what the reds, blues and greens mean compared to a standard.
And I think there's also some really good work involved, and I'm not sure the correct terminology, where, it's a bit like, Apple and Android, where some of these systems don't talk to each other. So then they're all working in silos.
I did a really interesting video on that a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Right. Can you give us the link to that?
A very forward-thinking farmer in Tassie.
Yep.
And he's using all open source, and he's actually got his 15,000 hectare property all covered by a wireless network that uses packet data to communicate between sensors and solenoids operating irrigation systems, for example.
I think that's I think the technology is wonderful. Yeah, exactly. And the other person you're catching up with, that we've got coming to the farm fencing demo days is Alex Thomas, who started this groundswell of, save a life, listen to your wife, and plant a seed for safety. Now, one of the things that we notice with farm fencing is, and a lot of farmers, in fact, is safety is not really up there on the top of their list.
Oh, are we talking about safety again?
That's exactly what we hear, but Alex isn't like that, is she?
I know. Look, particularly coming from teaching ag, I've taught Certificate 2, 3 and diploma level ag for 20 years. And the safety side of things is so corporate and so led and championed by lawyers, not led and championed by practitioners, that I'm very excited to meet Alex and speak to her because she promises a refreshing change to the way that we think about safety, going away from managing the legal liability and risk, and you've got employees over there that just have to do training, to actually going to the employees and getting them to manage their own safety.
Yes.
And then the whole lawyery side stuff takes care of itself. But unfortunately, those poor lawyers won't get their $1 million a year anymore.
Boo-hoo.
So I think that's a wonderful and refreshing change.
Yeah, look, I agree. Alex's whole attitude is just don't kill anyone. And I think that is...
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I reckon it's a really good idea. So,
maim them, but don't kill them. No.
Let's not do it. But look, I think it's wonderful, and I think it's a really good fit for what we're talking about here. And so there's a lot going on with these farm fencing demo days, and we're really looking forward to having you over here. But before I let you go today, what are the next things up that are coming up for you? Have you got any sexy projects you can drop in and tell us about that other people mightn't have heard of yet? What's happening for you after this?
Well, I'm exploring a lot of content coming up with the Gallagher Land Care program. So I'm looking a lot more at landholders using innovative fencing techniques to manage their land better. So I'm very keen on that. When that starts, I'm also very keen to see a raft of new products that the Whites Group through Murray or whatever their brands are manufacturing and actually exporting overseas. They're a hidden hero of Australian manufacturing because they're now starting to export our knowledge and technology overseas to major markets overseas. So I'm very keen to see that expand and to do stories on that. But no, I think the whole idea of new and exciting, for me, every time I meet a contractor and every time I have the privilege of spending time with a wonderful contractor out on site, to me, that's the new and exciting. And to my viewers, that's the new and exciting, because there is never a time where you go out in the paddock with someone from somewhere else that you don't pick up something they're doing. They might be holding a tool differently. They might be hanging something on their trailer differently. You know, they might have their setup might be slightly different. And people go, oh, I like that. So for me, that's the juice.
Yeah.
And so new and exciting, yes. Every time I meet a contractor, it's new and exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. And look, we're really looking forward to meeting you in person. It's taken a bit to pull these days together. So we've talked a lot on the phone and now on Zoom for the podcast. So we're looking forward to bringing it all together. Those demo days again, Friday the 12th of May, that's in the afternoon for the contractors, and on Saturday the 13th of May for farmers, small acreage lifestyle farmers.
And once again, those people, the people that end up with small acreages and the farmers, they're just amazing people, and you learn so much from them. So I'm really looking forward to those conversations. And to meeting those wonderful people and sharing ideas. I'll learn just as much from you as you do from me. I'll learn more from you.
That's wonderful. Look, thank you so much for your time today, Tim. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Belle, and good luck with it all. You've done a power of work, and I can't see this not working. So to Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farm Services.
Thanks, Tim. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Farmcast. You've still got time to book your tickets to our Tractoring for Women workshop on Thursday the 11th of May, and either the Farm Fencing Demo Day for contractors on Friday afternoon, 12th of May, and for the general public on the Saturday. The links are in the show notes, and you can also find them by checking out our socials. You can leave comments and send questions on the show notes page for this episode, which is on our website, adelaidehillsfarmservices.com.au. Just click on the Farmcast tab and look for the May episode. Cheers for now.
Thanks for listening to the Adelaide Hills Farmcast. Belle and I hope you found it helpful. You can leave comments and send questions on the show notes page for this episode, adelaidehillsfarmservices.com.au. Just click on Farmcast, which is on our website.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.